Well, it's time now to go back to the morning papers. Here with me to review them this morning have been the UK editor of The Big Issue, Paul McNamee, and entrepreneur Kate Hardcastle, ready and waiting for their last stint in this arduous duty that we've given them this morning, going through the papers. An awful lot around about the budget. Obviously, that's been, or the mini budget, or the growth plan, whatever we're supposed to call it, that's been dominating the front pages. But Paul, also inside as well, there's stuff, isn't there? You've spotted something inside the Express about the cuts to stamp duty.
Yes, this is a positive thing that has come out of the non-budget yesterday, and that is in England and Wales, the rate at which buyers of homes pay stamp duty has risen from £125,000 to £250,000, which is a positive. It's different in Scotland, I should say. In Scotland, it's still 0 up to 145, and then between 145 and 250, it's 2%. But while that is good, and that will help because of rising prices and fears over difficulty getting mortgages with rising interest rates, there is a problem here because it may throw prices up further. People feel they've got a little more in their pocket to go slightly higher in cost of the houses. Because there's a dwindling stock, those homes may cost a little more. And what the Chancellor hasn't addressed, and what he and his cabinet do need to address, is the home building target. The Tories had it in their manifesto in 2019 of 300,000 a year. They never hit it. Michael Gove, when he was in charge of that massive department of levelling up and all sorts of things, he started to move away from it before he was binned. And Liz Truss herself has called that target Stalinistic, which is not very reassuring. So while this is good that the stamp duty has been cut, it is not going to solve the cost crisis or the housing crisis.
Okay, yeah, the demand is there. It's the questions over the supply then. Okay, let's move on to the front page of the Times, Kate, because the Times, one of most of the papers actually, who go with with coverage of the mini budget, they call it Truss's great tax gamble.
Yeah, I will just say on the last point as well, definitely we have a shortage of affordable homing, which is so important. And commiserations to anyone that's bought a house recently. My goodness, whilst it's positive for some, you can imagine the amount of people that have just heard that perhaps the stamp duty they've paid was for naught. But yes, we talk about the Times here, and whilst there are positive headlines, certainly the word gamble, which I mentioned earlier this morning, is the one that keeps being reused. And I think this dash for growth versus the reality of whether they're going to get what they expect to get from this gamble is yet to be seen. And quite clear, we also need the devil in the detail. We need to understand where this is coming from. A lot of it will be borrowing, though. Borrowing for the UK going up to its highest level in, I think, 10 years yesterday. We know that sterling took a massive hit as well, whereas everyone doesn't believe, perhaps, internationally, that this is the right move. Suggestions that we're behaving like an emerging economy from financial reporters in the States. I think the big question throughout this Times piece is it going to be enough? And are we going to just see a situation where the top 10% of households, I'm afraid, are the ones that benefit from this? You know, confidence breeds confidence in spending. And whilst, yes, if you've got more to spend and you're within the top 10% of households, you might be able to speculate more, you might have more disposable income to spend. But if that means that 90% are still feeling incredibly stressed through this cost of living crisis, concerned about future, concerned about those heating versus eating type situations, then I absolutely think we haven't got a budget for everyone. We've got a budget for a few, and we've got to hope that there are going to be better measures still to come from the government on this.
Okay, and on that question of borrowing, the IFS say that public borrowing would top £190 billion this year, the third highest peak since the Second World War. The government says they think it's necessary to boost growth, of course. This conversation will continue, won't it, in the weeks ahead? But in the meantime, let's move on to a story in the Star, Paul. And this is about Labour and its plans for the House of Lords. I think it's a story that the Guardian picked up earlier in the week, actually, but tell us about it.
Yes, it's been around for a couple of days, and this is part of Gordon Brown's constitutional review. Gordon Brown has been doing a lot and saying a lot recently, and particularly around cost of living, and has come up with some very good ideas and policies. And this one is him looking at how we have a second chamber and other elements around the constitutional situation of the United Kingdom. And according to this, he is recommending that the Lords is abolished and that there is some kind of more representative voice from regions and other nations, which on the one hand you can see arguments for that there are elements within the Lords that are not particularly good or positive or useful when an outgoing Prime Minister just bungs it full of his cronies. That's not good. However, my boss, John Bird, he is a peer, and he is one of those crossbench peers who is trying to do something positive, to legislate from the Lords, which is not easy, to look at doing something positive for those at the bottom of society and help raise them up. So I come at this with an ambivalent attitude about getting rid of the Lords, and also I think with Gordon Brown, this is more of a pro-union plan of his in order to prevent Scotland splitting away and potentially Ireland getting reunited. We've seen figures this week in the referendum of numbers of Catholics versus Protestants, Nationalists versus Loyalists. So there's a constitutional situation in Ireland, and you can see what Gordon Brown doing here is bringing more people into the tent, saying your voice will be heard.
Interesting. It's interesting to see how much of Gordon Brown's review is adopted by Labour. We'll see where that ends up. And finally, and fairly briefly, I'm afraid, in the Times, Kate, 8 in 10 bosses think workers do less at home.
I think this could be one of the biggest disagreements between employers and employees. Employees in this survey from Microsoft have said that 87% of workers feel that they are equally as efficient at home as in the office. 80% of managers within those businesses disagree, feeling that people working from home are not as effective. Clearly, this is quite the challenge to come, as we've seen many people shuffle through their working career, many expecting to work from home. LinkedIn have suggested that the peak of the amount of roles offered for working from home have reduced.
We're out of time. I'm so sorry. Kate and Paul, really lovely to have your company this morning. Thanks so much.